Ever just, look at something completely normal, like the watch you wear every day or maybe an old photo, and wonder if there's some hidden story behind it? Like, could it be linked to something big? A famous person, maybe?
Oh, absolutely. It's a great thought because, yeah, often these things do have echoes. Designs stick around, objects get tied to people, to history.
Exactly. And that's precisely what we're diving into today. We've got these sources here all talking about some new Seiko watches, specifically the SRPL91 and the SRPL93 models.
Right. And our mission really is to unpack this, figure out what these watches are all about, the vintage design they're riffing on, and maybe the most interesting part, the story behind why that old model got nicknamed the Jean Kranz.
Okay, let's set that up a bit. These are Seiko 5 sports watches. That line has a history itself, doesn't it?
Oh, it really does. It
Yeah.
goes way back.
hmm
Started as the Sportsmatic 5 in 1963. The whole idea was, affordable, automatic, reliable, water resistance, date,
hmm
the basics done well.
And then it became the Seiko 5 sports we sort of recognize more in '68.
Yeah, that's when it got a bit more, well, sporty. Beefier designs, aimed at a younger crowd, people who were more active. But it kept those core Seiko 5 things. Automatic, date, water resistance, tough case, that recessed crown, usually at 4.
Right, and the line had that big comeback in 2019, heavily based on the SKX diver look at first.
It did. But lately, yeah, they've been digging deeper, back into the older history.
Like that 55th anniversary one, the SRPK17, that was based on the original '68 model.
Exactly, the reference 615D, which brings us neatly to today's focus.
These new ones, the SRPL91 and 93, the sources are clear. They're based on one specific vintage reference, the Seiko 5 Sports 6119-8460.
And this is where it gets really interesting, according to these sources. That specific watch,
Yeah.
the 6119-8460, it got its nickname because it was worn by someone, well, pretty legendary.
You're talking about Jean Kranz, Eugene Francis Kranz.
That's the one, Jean Kranz, NASA's chief flight director, Mercury, Gemini, and crucially, the Apollo missions.
Wow. Yeah, the guy in the vest in Mission Control, Apollo 11, obviously, but also Apollo 13. Incredible pressure.
His role was just immense. He was that steady hand, the decisive voice, guiding astronauts through, unbelievably complex and dangerous stuff. That image of him leading the team in Houston, it's iconic, tied completely to that era of space exploration.
And the sources confirm that specific watch, the 6119-8460, was the one he wore back then.
They do. That's the connection. That's why watch fans started calling it the Jean Kranz Seiko. And Seiko's now tapping directly into that legacy, bringing back that specific look with these new models.
That's seriously cool. Did the sources say why he wore it? Was it like official NASA gear or just his personal watch?
Good question. And the sources lean towards it being his personal choice, not like the Speedmasters the astronauts wore, for mission timing. So it wasn't due to the critical calculations. But there's this powerful symbolism, isn't there? The chief flight director, during the moon landing, wearing this reliable, everyday automatic watch. It speaks to that human element, personal reliability needed even when doing the extraordinary.
That adds another dimension. It wasn't a mission tool, but it was part of him during those moments. So how well do these new watches, the SRPL91 and 93, actually capture that vintage vibe? What do the sources say about the watches themselves?
They suggest Seiko did a really faithful job here. The first thing you'd notice is probably the case shape. It's got that classic late 60s cushion style.
Right. And the size seems kind of small for a modern sports watch looking at the specs.
It is, relatively. Sources put it at 38.2 millimeter diameter. The length, lug to lug, is 44.7 millimeter, and it's under 13 millimeter thick. So, yeah, quite compact. Mostly brush finish, but you get those little polished sides, which is nice.
And being a Seiko 5 Sports, it's got that crown at 4 o'clock kind of tucked in.
Yep, signature touch. It also has a bi-directional bezel, metal insert, engraved 60-minute scale.
Bi-directional. So useful for timing everyday stuff, like how long ago you put the kettle on, that sort of thing.
Exactly that. Just line up the zero marker with the minute hand. Easy. The sources do stress, though. It's 100 meters water-resistant, fine for swimming, getting caught in the rain, but definitely not a pro dive watch.
Okay. And something different about the crystal, too, the sources mentioned, compared to other modern 5 Sports.
Ah, yes. Instead of the usual dome, these have a box-shaped crystal. Really amps up the vintage feel. It is Hardlex, though. Seiko's proprietary mineral glass, not sapphire.
Hardlex. Okay, so pretty impact resistant, maybe less likely to shatter than sapphire, but potentially more prone to scratches.
That's the trade-off, generally speaking, yeah. And keeping with that vintage theme, the case back is solid steel, screws down, no display back here.
Makes sense. What about the dials? 2 options, right? SRPL91 and SRPL93.
Correct. SRPL93 is your classic black dial white text. Very tool watch. SRPL91 is a bit more lively, maybe. Sunray brushed silver dial with black markings.
And I saw something highlighted about the calendar display being a really nice retro touch.
Oh yeah, this is probably my favorite detail they brought back. It copies the vintage 6119's reverse color scheme. So the day is printed white on black, and the date is black on white. It's a small thing, but it just looks so right for a vintage Seiko 5.
Nice. The hour markers, they look applied, raised, and polished.
They are, and they, along with the hands, have Lumi Bright Loom for visibility when it's dark. Another neat little detail the sources picked up on, the text at 6 o'clock, automatic 24 joules. It uses a font seen on older Seiko models.
Attention to detail. Love it. And under the hood, what's ticking away inside?
It's the caliber 4R36, Seiko's go-to automatic movement for a lot of their accessible watches. Really reliable.
That's the one that beats at 3 hertz, right?
Yep, 21,600 vibrations per hour. Gives you about 41 hours of power reserve. And crucially for, modern users, it has stop seconds hack-in so you can set the time precisely. And you can hand wind it too.
Got it. Standard stuff, but solid. What about the bracelet?
Steel bracelet, fully brushed finish.
Yeah.
Looks kind of like a multi-link design. But the sources say it actually uses larger single links. Simpler, probably tougher. Standard folding clasp, push-button release. Pretty straightforward.
Okay, so that covers the watch itself. What about availability? How do you actually get one?
Right, so the sources lay that out. Both versions, the black SRPL93 and the silver SRPL91, are limited editions.
Limited. How limited are we talking?
They specify 9,999 pieces each, so per color.
Okay, so almost 10,000 of each. Limited, yes, but not impossible to find, hopefully. It's a pretty big run for a limited edition.
Yeah, it makes them special-ish, but still accessible. They're expected to hit retailers around July 2025, and the price point mentioned is 460 euros.
Right. So let's pull this all together then. What's the big takeaway here for you listening in?
Well, it's not just, here's another new watch.
Yeah.
It's really about that connection Seiko's making.
Yeah, we've literally traced these brand new watches, the SRPL91 and 93, back to a specific vintage model, the 6119-8460, and then linked that watch directly to Jean Kranz, the man running the show during the peak of the space race, including landing on the moon. It's quite a story.
Exactly. So the key thing is these new watches give you a chance to wear something that really captures the look, the feel of that specific Jean Kranz watch. You get the cool retro stuff, the cushion case, that bezel, the box crystal, and definitely that awesome reverse calendar. But it's all backed up by a modern, reliable automatic movement, and it's not, astronomically expensive.
It really highlights how a design can echo down through decades, and how things we wear can carry these hidden connections to incredible moments in people. It's more than just telling time, isn't it? It's like wearing a little piece of history.
Which kind of leads to a final thought, maybe, for you to mull over. Think about your own everyday things. Your bag, maybe a favorite mug, a tool you use all the time. Could they have hidden histories? Surprising links to people or events you just never thought about before? What stories might they hold?